Hey there, if you've enjoyed this podcast, do me a favor and hit the like button, the subscribe button, the follow button. Just hit any button on the screen that you can find. Thanks for the support. Now let's dive into this week's episode.
Welcome to the Path Less Traveled podcast, where we dive into the untold stories of business leaders who forged their own path. Join Craig Heatherly, your guide on this journey of unlocking the keys to leadership success. This is the Path Less Traveled podcast. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go. Go.
Welcome to the Path Less Travel podcast. This week, we feature the president and CEO of PWI, Ryan Miller. We welcome him to the show. Ryan, thanks for joining us.
Good to be here, Craig.
Oh, I'm
Thanks
excited
for the
for this.
invite.
This is going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
I hope we have enough time to get to all the things I want to get to because there's so much to discuss with you. So I'm excited for our conversation.
I am too. It's going to be good. I love your questions, by the way, Craig. Great thought-provoking questions, so it's great.
Well, I tell some people this. It's just kind of like a really cool ministry where some of these questions, I don't know if you've thought about them much in the past, but it stirs something up inside.
It sure does. It sure did me.
Well, we talked about your all the stuff that you have going on with home life, with all the growth that's happening here. The first question I got for you is, what do you do to recharge?
Yeah, that's great. So every year, my wife and I try to get away and just get somewhere quiet, a cabin, somewhere by the beach, and just get away and just. I do that a few times a year, just myself, a personal offsite. But annually we try to get away and just her and I take about 3 books with me somewhere and read, talk about life, do some journaling. Man, I love that. And I feel really old when I say that, but I do love the quiet. And if you'd have known me 20 years ago, you probably would have not known me as that person because I wasn't that person. But at 44, I love quiet and some time just to think. And it's really helped even the company, just me coming back kind of like Moses from the mountain, coming down with new ideas. And I get new ideas when I'm alone and there's quiet time to think. So love that.
Any favorite places that you?
Dominican Republic. That's probably our go-to. Yeah, we love the DR. Yeah, been there a number of times and are probably going back. So yeah.
Well, PWI, holy cow, family-owned business.
Yes. Yep.
Tell us about it. What do you guys do? What are you doing at?
Yeah, absolutely. My dad started this little business, little welding shop south of Napanee in the middle of the cornfield.
Where it is today still?
Where it is today, right here in Napa, Indiana. Nothing's changed. A little more property than we had back then. I think we had 2.5 acres. We're a little over 100 now, and it's been good. But mom and dad started this little business, fixing and repairing farm equipment, ag equipment, things like that. And it was very humble beginnings. And so I grew up working out here in the shop as a little kid and loved it. I always loved the welding business. And so, we today, it's been a long evolution, but in the last decade especially, we've been able to figure out who we are, what we're doing, where we're going, and what we do and what we don't do, more importantly, actually. And we had to say no to a lot of things that we thought we were great at. We weren't. We were maybe good at some of those things, but we weren't great at them. So we kind of figured those things out. And those 3 things are overhead cranes, mezzanines, and fall protection. Those 3 things is what we focus on. We call it our big 3. Okay. And that's what everything kind of comes underneath that umbrella of products. And so there's a lot of sub-products in all those. But that's what we do today. And 165 team members here today. We were below 50, I think, 5 years ago. So it's just changed a lot.
You're at 160 something today, and you were at 50 something. How many years ago?
I was telling you, met Trevor earlier. Trevor was employee 57 maybe, and he's been here for 5 years. So so somewhere in that 50 range. Yeah, so crazy.
What's that growth?
Oh, it's been like? It's been a blast, man. It's been fun. Not always easy, but fun, right? So I love growth. I love that part of it. I love the growth. I love having a crusade that we're on. I'm that guy. I don't like the policies, the processes, and the procedures that go around all that. I hate that part of it, and that's why people on my team have come around me to fill those holes because I suck at that stuff. I do. I hate it. So, but we've got good people filling those gaps in for me, and I've had to strategically work on that. It doesn't come naturally. So.
Yeah, I looked at on your LinkedIn profile. It says husband, father, visionary leader, a follower of Christ, and then adding value in people to change the world.
Forgot that was on there. Yeah, I did. That is literally what I'll talk about today. Yeah, it's literally that's number one for me, adding value to others, and that's not just personally for sure, but also that comes through in our product lines. I mean, we want to add value to the manufacturers that we serve every day. And that we always say, if that means go buy a forklift rather than buying a crane, go do that. We'll tell you that. Mm-hmm. Our sales guys are not commission paid whatsoever, and so we teach them to add value to the customer. If they leave there without a sale and the customer's happy, we're good. They'll call back later for a crane or a mezzanine or the next thing they need. So that's how we teach our people here. So
well, why is that important to you? Adding value to people.
I learned that from John Maxwell. Honestly,
okay.
That's where that comes from originally. And I look at the people that have added value in my life. It's incredible. I mean, we would not be here today without the people that have added value and spent time and said, Ryan, yes, I'll do lunch with you. And back when I was asking people to do lunch and I want to grow and I want to learn. I always say I want to learn from people who are ahead of me on the journey. And there's so many people that here locally and nationally, I was just meeting somebody 2 weeks ago down in Memphis. Just unbelievable meeting. I just said, I just want to learn from you. He's way ahead of me. I said, man, I want to see what you're doing. I want to learn about what you're doing. Give me 2 hours. He said, let's do it. So that's just been great for me. So.
This place is unique, and it doesn't take much time to figure that out. I mean, just go on your website. It's unique thing after unique thing after unique thing. But tell the listeners, what is unique about this place?
Yeah. So I would say it's the focus on serving our customers, serving manufacturers. We have a lot of competitors. I mean, we're not the only ones that do this. I think we're the only ones that offer the complete turnkey package. And so there's a lot of crane companies, there's a lot of mezzanine companies, and there's fall protection safety companies. Very few that do all three. And so we kind of feel like we're unique in the aspect that we go into a manufacturing plant. It doesn't matter what you're building. If you're building, wire, RVs, tires, glass, buses, patio furniture, whatever you're manufacturing, we serve those customers. And so they generally need at least two of the big three that we talked about and the product line. So we can go in there and we make all these things work together. There's no blame game between vendors. So we love an empty manufacturing plant shell, and we like to go in there and we provide everything inside of that. That's why we're unique. And there's no like, hey, the crane guys did this, the mezzanine guys did that, and there's just this blame game. It's on us. We own that, and if it doesn't work, we fix it. And it's right when our crew walks out the door after completion, we sign off to the customer. So that's why we're unique, and it's worked really well. Not just starting out in the local RV industry, which is huge here in Elkhart County, as you know. But we kind of woke up one morning 5 years ago and said, man, I think the other manufacturers across the country need the exact same thing, and they do. People like SpaceX and Caterpillar and John Deere, and they need the same thing. So yeah.
Well, you talked about identifying the things that we need to say yes to and things that we need to say no
Absolutely.
to in this evolution of the business. As you look at kind of what is next, and we just talked about 50 employees to 160. Yeah. What is next?
Great question. We are trying really hard. A couple things we're doing is we're trying to invent the future. We talk about that all the time. Invent the future. Wow. And so in our industry, there's a lot of old ways of doing things, and so we believe that software, technology, and investing in all that, which we are. We heavily invest in software engineers that are here, and so we're developing tools on our websites, and all of that's helping us get in with these customers across the country. So technology is massive for us, and so Henry Ford, I love Henry Ford, says, if I had asked my customers what they wanted, they'd have said a faster horse. I love that quote by Henry. And so they often don't know what they want, but when they go onto our websites and see what we're offering, it's there. And we're making that experience magical, easy. And we always want to be easy. We have those little easy buttons all over the place around here. Yeah, we love them. So like, when you call in here, how about we actually answer the phone? We actually understand what your needs are. I mean, we can be there in 3 days to come visit you. If you're in Missouri, we can get there, and we'll go figure out what you need as a manufacturer, what your needs are, and we solve that problem. We have the solution that you're looking for, and we have a quote for you in days, not months. We're able to ship something in weeks, not months, in many cases. So that's been fun. So kind of that whole magical experience for the customer is huge, and then using that as a tool to just get some aggressive growth happening here. So we have some pretty aggressive goals over the next 4 years. So excited about that. Some of that, I just want to add that our growth is not just fueled by greed for more profit. It's fueled a lot by, in fact, our goal we talk about more than anything else is about the giving goal. We give a lot away here as well to needs, to the community, to mission needs, and those needs are often brought to the team, to the executive team by all the employees. And so that we've done a lot of cool stuff in homeless shelters and drilling wells in Kenya. The world is our community, right? So we've just done a lot of cool things that kind of give our employees the why. It's more than just building a really nice crane. It's a lot. For me, it's a lot bigger than that. And so my goal of growth is to really give a lot more away. That's the why for me.
Yeah, when I mentioned the uniqueness of this place and looking at the website and words like humility, integrity, open hands, just have occur more than once on your website. So, I mean, I'm happy you brought that up because we're going to get into that. Let's shift the focus a little bit more towards the title of the podcast is The Path Less Traveled. Yeah. When you think about your leadership journey, how do you relate?
Yeah, it's a great... I had to think through that one a little bit. I have to think through that one. Great question. Look around. Turn my phone off here. Look around at all the businesses that are being bought up by private equity. It's the first thing I thought about. And I mean, unbelievable. I mean, in our industry, in HVAC industry, it's just everywhere. And so many times I hear the nightmare that follows that, and customers aren't happy anymore, and vendors aren't being paid on time, or whatever that might be. And so we do feel like we are, on that path less traveled, and no intentions at this point in time in history to sell out. We're 100% owned by my two brothers, Darren and Kyle, and myself. And we're planning to stay that way. I'd love to take this to third generation, of course, and with my sons and my brother's sons, if they choose to. They're younger than my boys are, but we'll see. But yeah, that's what I think about the most is that customer experience is generally lost because there's big money in selling out and all that, but we believe in that customer experience a lot. So I think we are on a road or path less traveled.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you've made some significant investments into your journey, into the company, into your family to kind of be where all this is at today. I mean, what are some of the most worthwhile investments you would say that you've made that stand out?
Leadership training for myself, starting with myself, me becoming a better leader, and then that trickling down into the rest of the team. I'll dig a little bit into just some transitions here that have happened. My dad passed away from cancer in 2017. I always say 2017 was one of the hardest years in my life, and it really was. Even as a company, we were, it was my dad was always here. He was only 62 years old, but I was kind of the president at the time, but he was CEO and really was the guy with the gray hair. And so that year in 2017, August is when he passed away. And after that, I was just at a loss. More than I thought I would even be. I just felt this massive loss and saying, man, it's all coming down to me, to Ryan. And so I called, and let me just say this, prior to this time, I didn't read books. You can ask my wife this. I didn't read any books. I didn't invest in myself at all. But I went to Ramsey in Nashville, Ramsey Solutions, which is EntreLeadership, known as EntreLeadership today, their program. And just I called them and I said, hey, I need I need help. Like I don't know how to do this thing, and it's bigger than me. And I went down there in February of 18 for the first week, my first week ever at an event called Master Series. And it was absolutely transformational, not just for me personally, but for this company. I mean, I'm telling you, everything changed in 2017 as a company. 2018, sorry, following that event, we formed it. So just investing in myself, and then I mean, we for the first time ever we wrote core values and ever we had never done that. We formed an executive leadership team. We had never done that. We had a vision statement, a mission statement. All those things happened. I started reading books like I've never read in my life, so that to me, and I was just talking to some of the Ramsey guys recently, 2 weeks ago, and I was telling them what they've brought into my life. They've added a ton of value into me, and Dave's teaching, and it's been amazing. So that's kind of where it started. That's where my leadership journey. I was a great boss before. Great boss. I don't think that's a great way to say it, but I was a boss before, and I was a terrible leader, and I was a micromanager, and so I learned delegation and actually letting go of things and not being a control freak. So that's probably the best investment we've ever made as a company. Is that whatever that was it $6,000 to go in there for the week? But it changed everything. So yeah.
What was some of the most uncomfortable parts for you of that growth? I mean, that's a lot. I just want to skip over that.
Yeah. It was. I just had to become a completely different person. But probably letting go. Me for the first time saying I can't do it all. I don't have to be in every meeting and doing all this stuff. And so Craig Rochelle says. Favorite quote from him is you can have control or you can have growth, but you can't have both. And that was like holy smokes. Wow. Yeah. And so I had to just wrestle with that, but I saw it. Like it was a light bulb. I mean, I remember the drive back from Nashville. Like I literally remember the songs I was listening to driving back from Nashville in February of 18. And it was that mind blowing to me because I came back with a plan. I had a business plan. We let go of some people. We promoted some people. But I knew what to do. I knew exactly what to do. I just didn't have the courage to do those things before. I really didn't know. I didn't really know. So we were always in this small business mindset. We're just a small welding shop. For all those years, and we really weren't anymore. We were growing, and so yeah.
You mentioned core values. I love number 5.
Yeah.
No gossip.
Yeah. I got that from Ramsey, honestly. Yeah. That's I stole that from him. So that's a really big deal, Craig. We honestly we treat it extremely important. And so like people don't last long. People get fired here for gossip. Period. Like it's not we don't just talk about it. I mean the stuff that's on the wall over here, it's real. It's real. And so we look at that every single day. I got one right above my screen in my office, and we're always like, what do? Well, look at number 4. We do the right thing, in every case, regardless of the cost, so, yeah.
It's send negative up and then spread positives
all around,
right?
Yeah. So there's a path when there's a problem. It doesn't mean, gossip's a weird deal. Gossip's, like you think, well, you can't talk about anything. They're just control freaks there. No, it's not that. It means that there's a problem and you're my supervisor. I say, Craig, hey, we got a problem here. If Craig doesn't listen to me at all, I can go to Craig's supervisor. That's going up. And so you can always go up the ladder, and eventually you can end up at Ryan's office and say, hey, there's a problem here. My supervisor, I've talked to them. There's a lot of, there's some integrity issues out there in Building 4 going on right now. Okay, glad to know that. Thanks, man. That's not gossip, but gossip is spreading that everywhere else around the company. So people start here, new hires. I love my new hire lunch I do with the new team members, and I always ask them, is it different than what you came from? They said, oh my goodness. I've been here for 2 months. I've never seen anything like it. There's no swearing. There's no gossip. People are helping me out. So I love to hear that stuff. Yeah, that means I think we're making a difference. So yeah.
Well, how would you describe your leadership style? It's evolved, I'm sure, here as you're describing the growth that you had.
Yeah, I would say control freak turned into a delegation freak. Yeah, I was a micromanager. My dad saw that. My dad always challenged me on that. In fact, we were doing a quote one time. I had an Excel spreadsheet up. And I had brought him over to my office and said, "Hey, Dad, check this out. Are these numbers about right for this?" He was kind of the design guy. I was head of sales, head of everything, but head of sales as well. And I was quoting this thing, and I had some management fees in there and some engineering fees in there in the spreadsheet. He goes, "You're missing one, line 4." I said, what do you mean? What are you talking about? He said, "You're missing a micromanagement fee." He said, "Because you're going to micromanage this thing all the way." And my dad was funny. But I saw it. He saw it. So I went from almost completely the opposite, maybe to a fault, where I just don't bother me about the little stuff. I trust you. Just make the call, man. I'm good. But it's going to cost $9,000. I said, just, you know what to do? Go do it. It's all right. I trust you. So we've it's not been an easy year in many ways, and so we've had the values on the wall have really been used this year a lot, even with some really tough decisions and losses that we've had. It's just been a strange year for a lot of reasons. So yeah.
Well, you're now a book reader. You said I don't know how much of an avid reader you are, but do you have some favorite books?
Yeah, a couple that I would just spit out here. Pat Lencioni, huge Pat Lencioni fan, but Ideal Team Players, pretty much mandatory reading around here. You can't miss John Maxwell's 21 Laws. I start there. I mean, that's 21 Laws of Leadership. You just about got to start there if you want to be a leader. In my opinion, that's where it starts. Another book that I really like that really changed my mindset. That I always had this warped philosophy that if I'm in ministry, you're in ministry, and if you're in work, you're at work.
Right.
And the book, The Legend of the Merchant and the Monk, is a really good book. Highly recommend it. You read it, and it just talks about the relationship between the business and the church, or business and ministry. And I firmly believe that ministry and God's work is being forwarded in massive ways by people, by kingdom-minded business owners. And so that's what I want to be. That's who I believe I'm trying to be. And so that book sums that up. It's a nice parable of how that works. And it's like, man, when I saw that, I was like, man, I'm just as called as a business owner, business leader, just as called by God to do this as what my pastor is. No difference at all. It's not a different ranking. It's just what God's called me to do. And if God would call me somewhere else, that would be fine. But that's what that book talks about. So that's a couple books for you that are on my shelf, multiple copies that I pass out a lot. So.
Well, I think this is a great segue into a couple of kind of deep questions here. How would you answer the question of what matters? What matters in life?
You're going deep, man.
Who are you? What? Tell us core values.
Yeah.
You tell us how deep you want to go. Feel free, because I see you online, and that's what really drew me to this interview was you put it out there, man, and that's unique, and I think it's special, and I love that actually.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I just my faith is a really big deal. My faith, my family. I always tell the team here, I work here. So this is not my life. I work here so I can go home to my life and to the people that really matter. And I love my team here, but I mean, my family, my faith, my church, that is no question number one. And you can absolutely get those sideways sometimes when you're working 60-hour weeks and doing that. But I don't do a lot of that. I really don't try to. And so my family's a really big deal. I think you asked who I am. I'm this kid that grew up in a little welding shop here, and I really wrestled, Craig, with being less than. I always felt like success was for somebody else. I always felt like we were poor. My dad had nothing. I didn't know we were poor, but we were poor. I hear the stories now. I see the books from way back then, and we didn't have much. So I always felt like that nice truck or that company truck that we could buy for our sales guys, or the nice new facility, or the bistro that we just built for our employees. That was always for somebody else. And I just always, we grew up here in a shop with 3 or 4 people in here when I was a kid, and it grew to 12 and then 20. And so it took me a long time to get over that imposter syndrome. Maybe it was what it was, but just this idea that it wasn't for us. And so when I really felt people speaking into my life that really invested in me and said, man, Ryan, you're not a loser. You got something here. You're building something great. You can do this. You got this. I started owning that, saying, you know what? Yeah, God's given me a massive opportunity here. And I always say I want to squeeze every drop out of that lemon that He's given me, or that orange, that fruit He's given me, and I want to milk it for all it's worth, right? And so the philosophy of the talents, I just want to get everything out of those talents I can, and so that's really who I am. I'm passionate about what we get to do here, but it's not really what drives me as much as the other side of my life, which is my wife Jeanette and my kids, my 5 kids, and church, and I lead worship at church. I'm very involved there. So yeah. So.
Well, you just talked about some individuals that spoke life into you, and words matter. Guys, they can be a force for good or a force for bad.
Amen.
Who are some people that come to mind that just believed in you?
Yeah.
And what was that like?
Yeah. I talked about Maxwell earlier. John's had a massive influence on my life in a big way. So I've gotten to travel some with him and just learned a lot from John and his leadership. And so that's been a massive. Just watching him add value to people every day is incredible. And so close to home here, a lot of business owners. I think especially of a friend of mine who about 2 years ago I was going through a tough time, and just some personal transition stuff in our family and with church and some other things we were going through. And this friend of mine just he sent me a letter. He wrote me a letter, and it was not an email. It was a letter. Okay, and I think he folded it, put it in a book that he gave me, and it wrecked me in a massive way. But he just spoke life into me, like I had, and he just if I were a Tesla, it gave me 5,000 miles on one charge. No joke. I mean, it just like, I go back. I've saved it. It's on my phone. I can show it to you right now. It's there. And I go back to that. And there's some of those. There's a number of those, but that's one that sticks out to me. And that's people that people over lunch that have just said, Ryan, look, this is what I'm going to advise you to do. This is my advice to you, or this is what I see that you're good at, and this is what I think you should push towards and strive for. So that's a lot of those people. So yeah.
Push for and striving for. What kind of advice would you give to somebody that's newer on their leadership journey, or a younger you?
Yeah, great question. Just ask to be mentored. There's this weird. We're just too shy to ask, and the good guys always say yes because they're good guys. Think about it. So the guys that are kind, the guys who are really good leaders, almost always. I don't know that I've hardly ever gotten to know, and so John Maxwell has this story. It's a great story. He talks about that he was investing in this church. He was in Southern Indiana in a little church. He was a nobody. He was like young 20s, and he wrote a letter to 10 pastors around the country. He really wanted to do some big things for God and really wanted to do some things, but 2 of the 10 wrote him back, and the other 8 did not. But he essentially he was kind of bummed about that. He said, no problem. He said, I'll offer you $100 if you just give me an hour of your time. And back then, he told me what his salary was. It was extremely low. And but he went there to those 2 and had lunch with them, and they poured life into him. And pretty quickly, the other 8, the first 2 talked to the other 8, said, you got to meet this young guy named John. He's a good guy. And eventually he got to have an hour with all 10 of them. It's incredible. So that really helped me just say, I need to ask. I just need to ask. And my, hey, can we have lunch? I know I'm just this little Ryan dude, but I love what you're doing, and I would love to learn from you. And do you have an hour? Or can I buy you lunch? Whatever that is. And so that's what I would tell the young guy, is just ask. And I love investing in other people as well. So I'm investing in other people as well now today. I do quite a bit of that. I do lunch a lot with people, and half of those are people I'm learning from. Half of them are people that I'm maybe helping along that are new, that are in their 20s and trying to learn. So yeah.
You talked about the kind of you love recharge, you love getting away for whatever time period and thinking. I had one of those last year about this time, and it sparked this idea to have a personal board of advisors. And you are right. Reach out. If you reach out to individuals, they are willing to give you of their time.
Amen.
If you're prepared, if you have a plan.
Yeah.
And if you have really no hidden motives other than I want to grow.
Yeah.
So I'm happy you mentioned that.
I always show up, and I'm sure you mentioned that. I show up with a legal pad full of questions, or an iPad full of questions, however that is, and have more content ready to ask than they have time for.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, what's one of the hardest parts of leading for you? I know of leading. I know the hardest, but for you,
I would probably say, the people, right? I mean, it's you're not a leader if you're not leading people. If you think you're leading somebody and there's nobody following you, you're just on a walk, right? So so the people are can be difficult, right? So we're always dealing with people that are maybe not quite seeing the vision as I see it, or people who need more training and aren't quite producing. And we've had a year that's a little bit like that. We've done some shifting this year. There's people that aren't on the bus that were here at the beginning of the year, and there's some tough calls that we had to make there. And those are hard, very hard for me. And after, strike 1, 2, and 3, and some of those things, you got to deal with that. And we always look for another seat on the bus first for those people and say, man, I think Bob, you do really well over here. Let's try that. And so we almost always do that. We say, man, would you be happier over here? And so we've done a lot of that here. And there's people that have just made massive improvements as employees here just by shifting over to another seat. And so I'll talk about Charlie's a great story. Charlie's does all of our radio programming. He was in sales here, and great guy, loved him. And Charlie's still here today, so he'll probably listen to this. But I love Charlie's heart. He said, "Man, I just can't do it. The stress level's too high, and our sales guys do a lot, and so they're setting up manufacturing plants, and they're working with big customers, and there's a lot of stress there with that." And he said, "I can't do it." And he said, "But I love you guys. I love this place. What can I do?" And so he's out in Building 2 now, doing customer service, programming radios, radio controls for our cranes, and owning it, killing it. He's a stud. He's just a great guy. And I love that story because there's a lot more like that. But that's often how it goes. If that doesn't work out, what makes me sad is when people need to leave, and we got to find somebody else to fill that role. And that always ruins my week, right? It's hard. It's hard to go through that. So you try so hard. You try to bring them along. We're going this way. Come on, guys, we're going this way. And or the bus is turning the corner. We're going to change some things. And sometimes they fly out the window. They can't hold on. So that's tough.
Well, I've got two final questions for you before we get your final thoughts. If you had a billboard, and you could have, if you had a bunch of billboards, what would your message be?
That's a great question, Craig. I probably would have to go with just my personal life motto is and this won't be a surprise because I've already told you what my priorities are in life, and I think my life motto has become: true success is when the people closest to you love and respect you the most, and that's probably what I would say. And so we can do so well over here. We can be this hotshot business leader. We can be a great CEO. We can be a great sales guy, and we can be all these things. But if we come home and our wife doesn't respect us, our kids don't respect us, my teenagers don't respect me, and Dad's never present, Dad's never around. I've asked Dad for help; he never has time for me. That wrecks me, man. So I never want to be that guy. I would sell this place tomorrow, or walk out of this place tomorrow if I knew that it would buy something on the other side that for my family that I could give them. And so I hopefully I do feel like my kids respect me and they love me, and my wife does as well, thank God, right? And so we've been married for 22 years happily, and Jeanette's a great partner for me. So that's how I would answer that. I feel like we just get it wrong. We think we know what success is, and we don't. I want to leave significance in this world, and so I we grew up with nothing, Craig, and our family. I have 5 siblings, and we didn't have much, and things have changed a little bit. But the nice F-150 King Ranch, who cares? It doesn't really make me happy at all. My King Ranch is 6 years old now. I can get a new one. It doesn't really. Who cares? That's a little bit how I feel. Like what's the new sports car? What's a new Corvette going to do? I don't know. I like some nice things, but the older I get, the more I see. The older I get, the more that I've gotten some somewhat nice things. I see that it's not where it's at. It hasn't really given me true joy. So, the true success for me is when those closest to me love and respect me. So,
I'm gonna throw a curveball at you for this last question. By the way,
you're scaring me, Craig.
The guest last week or 2 weeks ago, Todd Gongwer mentioned what he wants people to tell his family, or the people closest to him, if there was his funeral.
Man,
what, as you think about that, like what do you want your legacy to be?
That's a great question. It's a curveball, man. But I have an answer for you. I do, and I remember driving in a truck with an old guy. He actually was one of my high school teachers, and I was 20 years old, not married. And he said, "Man, Ryan, you know what every woman wants to see in a man?" And I said, "No, I don't know." I said, "Give me an answer." I shot him a couple of guesses, and I had no idea. He said, "No, it's kindness. Every woman wants to see wants to marry a man who's kind." And so I didn't think much of it at the time, but that has just become one of my favorite words, kindness. And so that would be my answer. I would love for people at my funeral to say Ryan was kind, not just to his kids, but to every kid. I always want to be the favorite uncle to all my nieces and nephews. I think I am actually. I think a man who is kind, a person who is kind, it just sums it all up. It sums up love and gratitude and all those things. And so, that would be my answer. Is people of all ages, people who have gotten value from me in their life, people that have worked here in the past. Say, man, I used to work with Ryan. That guy, he's a kind guy. That's what I'd like them to say. And from 3-year-old little kids who I run into at town, or give them some candy or whatever it might be, or kids at church, or my nieces and nephews, or my own 6-year-old. Right, Dad was always kind to me. And so that would be my. It's probably how I'd answer that question.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, what final thoughts do you have, or any message that you want to get across? The floor is yours before we wrap up.
Yeah, I would just I think going back to just getting help from other people and asking other people for input in your life, both personal and in business. So if you're out there and you're in business and you're trying to do something on your own and you feel alone, ask for help and get input from other people. And the good ones, the guys that really are worth getting advice from are the guys that will also say yes. And they will invest in you. They will help you grow. They'll give you a book or two. Just last week, I visited several friends. I came back with 4 books. You got to read this one. You got to read that one. This one's for you, man. And I'm in the middle right now of Mr. Hobby Lobby, David Green's book.
Okay.
I can't say it, but Getting It All to Give It All Away, or something like that's what it's called. But fantastic book. So that all came just from me saying, "Hey, can I have some time with you?" And came back with books. So and just really some notes, a lot of notes of things that I want to work on here. Kind of looking at what's next for PWI. I got a treasure trove of new stuff just from a few quick meetings. So that would be my input. Is reach out. This thing's bigger than you. It's bigger than all of us, and get others around you. And that goes for my team as well. I can't do it alone here either. It's not about Ryan running this place. I should mention my team. I have a fantastic executive team. It's not just my brothers and I. They also sit on the team, but there's a 7-man team that runs PWI, and we go to war every week and meetings. And I mean, in a good way. We're on a crusade. We're going to fight. We fight for what's best and for the company, for the team, and just have some really, really good people here around me. So I'm so grateful for that. Yeah.
Well, thanks for doing this. This was a ton of fun. I could see a part 2 of this coming at some point. But well, that's it for this week's episode of the Path Less Travel podcast with the president and CEO of PWI, Ryan Miller. Ryan, thank you again.
Thanks so much, Craig. It's a pleasure.
That's it for this week's episode of the Path Less Traveled podcast. Be sure to follow us on your favorite podcast platform. From Craig Heatherly and all of us, thank you for listening.